Well, welcome to another week. I hope you guys had a good weekend and you're kind of ready to get back into the swing of things here. What I did want to show you was our lesson for this week is going to center around the idea of slope. We've been kind of looking at similarity, we've been kind of looking at dilations, and now we're going to kind of dive into the last part of this unit, or the idea around this idea of how do we find slope and why is it important. So your learning target, again, by the end of this lesson, you can say confidently that I can identify the slope of a line from a graphical representation. So we're going to kind of look at graphs and see how we can find the slope and hopefully understand the importance of the slope at the end of this lesson. So I do have a funny video, and I would have you share one idea that stuck you from the video. It's kind of one of those videos that's going to stick with you for the rest of the day. You're going to sing it, you're going to kind of be thinking about it, dreaming about it, which is good. So kind of share an idea, that's something that stuck out to you, or if you didn't, maybe share something you do know about slope and kind of put that here in the engage section. And just like every explore section, we give you some ways to kind of dive into this material. I give you a video through Khan Academy, and again, I give practice problems in the do section that relate to that video, so it kind of goes hand in hand. And it's going to be on identifying a slope from a given graph. How do I identify it? What is a slope and how I can use that information? But I kind of want to look at the resource that I shared, and it kind of gives you a rundown of the idea of slope, and how we always define it is the rise over run. So you're always going to use the rise first with slope and the run second. All right, and what we say rise is the y-axis, that would be up and down, right? So we can rise negative, which is down, or rise positive, which is up. We also can run negative, which is left, and run positive, which is right. So if I wanted to find a certain point on this graph, and you can see their first point is 4 and 3, all right? So their run, the rise over run, they went up 3 and over 4. So if you notice, the 4 is the x value and the 3 is the y value. So again, y is rise and x is run. All right. So how we say, how did we get from, from this coordinate to this coordinate to find the slope, because these are just random points. What is the slope of this line? What we can do is we can go from one point to the next. And what we say is from this point, I went up 4 and over 6. So if I put that as rise 4, run 6, and reduce it, my slope is 2 over 3, or 2/3. My slope of this line is 2/3. All right, so it's finding two coordinates in a given line, and then rising and running to those points from point to point to find what my end result will be for my slope. And we always remember with fractions is at the end we do reduce. So hopefully that was kind of useful. As you explore that, you'll kind of get a better idea of the idea of slope. In explain section, what does the slope help us in identifying graphs? So how does it help us? As you look through these resources, put down here below your thoughts of why, what does the slope do for us? Why does it help us in identifying graphs? What can it do for us in maybe graphs that we see in other examples or other scenarios? In the evaluate section, you're going to complete the finding slope and graphing lines checkpoint, just like we usually do every week. And then the elaborate section for this is, again, back to the learning target, identifying slopes. At the end, you're going to explain how you matched, how did you identify each? So not only are you going to match these slopes right here with their appropriate graphs, you're also going to explain how did you identify each. So it kind of goes back to that target, right? Your learning target of, again, I can identify the slope from a line of graphical representation and be able to explain why or how you did that process. And this elaborate section is going to do that. And then the express section, in what ways do you think you need to improve? So kind of looking back through the lesson and finding ways, maybe one of these sections you need to improve better or kind of give more input and kind of be honest there. So if you have any questions this week, please let me know. Again, this is kind of just a general idea of the word slope and being able to identify, and we'll kind of get deeper next week as we do our next instructional video. But again, it's kind of identifying the slope from a graph and be able to go from there. So hopefully this helps you through this week's lesson and kind of finish up this unit. And if you have any questions, please let me know. Have a great week.